Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Create Astros. I recorded like 20 hours worth of footage and OBS recorded no audio whatsoever because for some reason I went into the settings and like actually messed with some settings that resulted in no audio at all being recorded. So, that's fine. That's 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 fantastic. Um, I need a moment. But we're not going to dwell on that. We're not going to dwell on that at all. Nope, we are not dwelling on it. Anyway, uh I'm going to show you my base tour. Yeah, let's have a base tour instead. I actually designed this in creative mode. I have a tree farm that I have turned off since it was too efficient. And I was very quickly getting way too much wood. So I have that going for me. Behold the base. Thankfully, I do still have the video footage. So I'm gonna spruce that up with some voiceover for y'all. So at least you get to see this thing being built and the links I had to go through to get it up and running. I'm fine. I'm 100% fine. Uh, yeah, this is my living area. Very nice, very nicey nice. My bedroom that I still need to spruce up because it's very bare bones. And I made my telescope for North Star, our space exploration mod. I have an astronomy table, and more importantly, I have a star map of the moon. So we are going to the moon. It's finally here to get to the space part of Create Astros. So let me go ahead and skip the night, and I will show you the other thing that I managed to work on before we get into the clip reel. Alright, so the other thing I've been working on is this wonderful piece of machinery. I don't know how efficient it is. I don't know if it can be improved on. I hope it can be, but it's going pretty well. I already have 147 buckets of biofuel that is going to assist me in creating rocket fuel later on, and also souping up my blazes because it can supercharge the blazes, and thanks to liquid fuel, I don't have to do that manually or with mechanical arms, so that's a bonus. What else did I get? I got some bees. I gotta get a proper enclosure for these bees because their home is really ugly right now. And then this is my manufacturing tower. I have some iron in here. You'll see me make this in the clip reel. I'm just going to try to explain all of these as we go. I believe this was made with by R Creation YT for the initial design. I had to tweak it a little bit. But yeah, it works. This is the ore processor. And then you come up here. And I have a Viridium farm, so I never ever have to run out of copper again because oh my god. This was kind of hell. Not gonna lie. So yeah, uh, finding out that none of that audio ever recorded was not great. Let me tell you, it was not great at all, man. I am so tired. I am so tired. So after relocating Snowy's iron farm to my manufacturing tower and building myself an ore processor so I can go through a lot of this stuff a lot faster than usual, I quickly realized that I am going to need a lot more room, so I moved the train tracks that Judas had placed down that is going, unfortunately, right kind of through my restaurant, and I ported over the schematic from my creative world so I can actually import my base.
By the way, the schematic cannon, hands down the best part of the Great Mod, in my opinion, because it saves so much time on building. And then I just need to worry about resource gathering and not have to deal with things like falling to my death. If you have a clipboard, it also prints out a handy resource guide, so you know exactly what materials you need to gather, in what quantities. So 10 out of 10, so much better than Lightmatica in terms of ease of use. Once I have the schematic loaded up, I go ahead and start adjusting the ghost outline of where I want my base, making sure that it's going to fit. I do run into a slight issue, because in my forever world, this is actually meant for one train track at a time instead of two, so I quickly realized that I'm going to have to make some adjustments and possibly remove quite a few blocks to actually get the double train track system to fit properly. Once I have it kind of where I want it, I do a quick double take around the place, making sure that there's no glaring issues. And I quickly realize I'm also going to need to do a little bit of terraforming, at least to flatten the grade, so I can actually get this thing built without any significant issues, other than the fact that I did not have any of my farms set up to source for this thing. Foreshadowing is a literary device where the first of many issues is the fact that when I made the schematic for the iron farm, I told it to ignore missing blocks, so of course that option saved, and it printed just the foundation and the roof. So that was great, so I had to, go back, take that schematic out, and refill it to where I could actually get an entire base, and not just a foundation of a base. So yeah, that was fun. The second issue, of course, is one I already knew about, thankfully, and that was the fact that the wall, the train entrance here, was a bit too narrow. And then, of course, I found out that in the schematic, I found out that the copper stairs that I incorporated so liberally throughout this build was the waxed variant. So I had to birch spawn some bees and get that up and running so I could at least finish the build and worry about other things like how I'm going to get to space, because I still haven't gone to space. From here, I doubled my bee farm so I can actually get this build done sometime this century. So I double the amount of hives that I have, which helped a lot actually. And then of course, now I'm at the point in the build where I have to seriously think about how I'm going to realign all these pillars. From here, my life essentially turns into gathering more resources to pop into the chests for the schematic cannon, and then run and grab more and more, and look, if I hadn't had help from Lunar and a couple of other people like Dragon, this thing would not be done. There was just no way. We're talking, there was like, 700 blocks of cyan concrete. Why did I incorporate so much concrete? I don't even have a concrete farm. I had to just, go and just take a whole bunch of iridium from Lunar, who thankfully is just obsessed with hoarding every block imaginable. So, shout out to Lunar. She is amazing. Go check out her channel. Subscribe, like, comment on everything. She's a MVP in this It's in this server. I will say this though, watching all of these blocks fly in and complete the build is so cool to watch. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even upset about using the schematic cannon. But this is the point where I do need to buckle down since the arch is already complete, so I don't have to worry about other blocks interfering, and I could just correct the issue with the sizing and position of all these blocks without the schematic cannon freaking out and adding more that I have to fix later. So yeah, I work on that for good God, I don't even know how long. What you're watching is about 30 minutes of footage, but really I had so much more footage. It's so much, and the fact that the audio never recorded. At this point, I needed 4 white concrete. Lunar did not have white concrete. I don't know if she does now, but she didn't at the time. So I asked Dragon for some. And now you get to see the exact moment that my soul left my body.
Dragon delivery service has arrived.
So after our resident literal Flying Dutchman had used a defibrillator on me, we hung out for a while. I was showing him the base, and it was nice to take a break. Dragon is good people, and I really needed this break for all of the issues going on with this build. So shout out to Dragon. But of course from there it was right back to fixing the damage that my schematic had done. I think in the future, if I do incorporate this kind of decoration and structuring around a train track kind of situationship, I am going to make absolutely sure that there's enough room for a double track before I commit to the build. I realized that with all the glazed terracotta that I used in this build, it was going to be so much easier to just take advantage of the dye baths that Dragons Plus added to create. Very, very convenient add-on. I highly recommend it because it made this whole misadventure so much more tolerable. At this point, the build is like halfway done, and I am so tired already. I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, am I gonna actually be able to pull this off? Because I was flagging so bad at this point. And I still needed more. I needed more copper. I needed more concrete. I needed more terracotta. It was just non-stop. But I figure I've already made it this far. I might as well go all the way just because, well, you know, it's mostly done already. I the end is in sight. I have my Viridium farm up and running, so things are looking up significantly, considering this thing made like 8,000 Viridium. I had to turn it off because it was a little too efficient. But at least I have like a reliable source of copper now. And clay for the terracotta, so a considerable improvement. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the schematic cannon start to work on the top layer, it was asking for a light gray terracotta, which is like the ceiling. It was just like, oh my god, finally, it's over. It's over. I can, actually move on to doing other things. And it looked good. It looks really good. Dragon was kind enough to give me the material that I needed to make train stations, so those are up and available. And all that's left is to just get enough clay to make this terracotta ceiling. But of course, this is when I start noticing that there is another issue that's come up. See, while the regular glass, like in the greenhouse, poured in just fine, for some reason the windows didn't. And I looked at this in my Forever World, and turns out the reason for this is the mod pack that I'm using for my world has diagonal windows. So now all of the windows that I built into this schematic are unavailable because Create Astros doesn't have diagonal windows. So that's great. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for the new windows. Otherwise, phantoms and other things are just going to be able to fly right in. Like Dragon, who keeps stealing my crafting tables. At this point, finally, the schematic is mostly done. All I really need to do is fix all the positions of the lanterns, because a lot of them just ended up floating. And I finally decided on industrial iron for the windows, and they look fantastic on the build. They give a nice bit of contrast, and more importantly, they're very cheap on resources. So, industrial iron it is. With my base finally done, I hop into creative and I design a hydrocarbon farm to actually generate enough early game rocket fuel to get me off this planet, and a biofuel farm just because I really don't want to mess with blaze cakes. This is far more efficient, so biofuel it is. I also add a fantastic little steam engine down here in the basement of my base. I'm going to call this the geothermal project. I finally got it up and running. This is about as close to geothermal as you can get in Create, so I am quite proud of that. The blazes all run on lava through the liquid fuel add-on, and I managed to get this thing working to about 87,000 SU for now, at least. Plenty of room for expansion, so yeah, we're good on power for the foreseeable future. And with all of my barrels vacated and all of my items moved over to the new base, I finally have a proper inventory set up, so I can, not worry about storage solutions for quite a long time. And with that, my base is finally complete. It was a hard road to get there, but I'm glad I did. I managed to put down an astronomy table and a telescope, and we can finally do a little bit of stargazing.
And that is it for this episode. Thank God it's over. From now on, I am going to make sure that the builds that I make have all the materials obtained first to save myself a whole lot of headache. And farms. farms for every resource I use, because aside from create mod blocks where it's just like these little gizmos you see behind me, I am going to make sure that I have farms for everything like glass and concrete and terracotta and all that good stuff well before I engage in any massive building project ever again. I learned a lot, mostly the resource angle, but there was quite a bit that I learned from just not having a tutorial on hand to make sure it's as efficient as possible. Like, for example, the hydrocarbon farm and the biofuel farm, which, hey, the hydrocarbon farm is 100% going to be in the next episode. If you guys want to see tutorials for either one of those farms, the hydrocarbon or the biofuel, and those are both for our space exploration mod, which is Great North Star Redux, well, be sure to let me know, and I will absolutely guide you through every step of the process, and hopefully we can come to figure out a much more efficient setup for both of those farms. So let me know in the comments if there's any hints or tips you guys can give, and yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe to all of us if you want to stay up to date on Great Astros. And I am going to go sleep for like a week. I am very tired. Peace. I will be returning very shortly. I'm going to aim for 2 episodes for the month of February, since I missed January just because of all the audio issues and just the sheer amount of issues that I had running back and forth trying to get enough resources for this thing. So yeah, that is all for me. You guys have a fantastic day. Don't let life get you down, and that's it. Bye.